So, let's talk real quick. We've talked a lot about the oil and gas consulting software. Let's talk a little bit about the data analytics side of the business. You just mentioned that you guys were doing a lot of work, in K through 12 education. What do you actually do on the data analytics side? I know that you mentioned, you're working with Tableau and, those different types of software. Are you guys actually helping companies derive information and knowledge out of data and analytics?
Yeah.
Tell me about what you guys actually do.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's everything from the starting point of getting your data to the point of, for whatever reason, you have multiple data sources, you're having to bring it in, you're having to cleanse it, to the end product, which may be a dashboard that helps management, review things on a regular basis. So, it's kind of that whole piece of being able to do that. We work with a lot of different partners, and so that's one of the things on the analytics is we work really strongly with quite a few different partners through helping our clients.
Yeah. What industries are you guys currently targeting, and which industries would you like to get into? I think it's fascinating when you're like, oh yeah, we're oil and gas, but we're helping K through 12.
Oh, I know. We've had some funny discussions about our website because at one point it was like oil and gas and K-12. How does that work on a website?
How do you market that? How do you market?
It's a pretty hard contrast to tell your story, right?
Yeah. Now, as time's gone on, I mean, we've gotten into healthcare, we've gotten into financial services, we've gotten into now we work in so many different industries. We work in all throughout the country. On the analytics side. So, it's kind of, there's two sides to it, right? One, we talk about oil and gas, you have to know the business. And I agree. It's great if you do know the business. At the same time, there's an approach to helping people. Okay, what are you trying to solve? How are you getting there? A lot of the methodologies that we would do don't differ whether it's financial services or healthcare or whatever on the data side of building a dashboard. It's asking the right questions, extracting that from the client, and then turning that into what the plan is, right? And leveraging their expertise. I mean, ultimately, they're the ones who should be saying what they want, right? So, a lot of times we get that, well, have you ever worked in this industry? Well, maybe not, but that doesn't mean we can't help you with this challenge, right? And the good thing, like I said, is we continue to build more expertise, certainly better if you know it and you know the technologies, and that's what we're certainly working on doing. But we're really widespread in the technologies. We're actually expanding. We just opened a Denver office. We're looking to open an office in the Midwest, Chicago area. We've got someone out in Nashville. So, one of the things on the analytics side is, oil and gas is, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, there's a few places, but we're trying to expand our offices across the country. And be able, again, kind of goes back to the diversification I talked about earlier, but we want to be able to diversify ourselves, not just by industry, but also kind of throughout the U.S. So.
Yeah. What's the end goal there? Is it do you aspire to be kind of like that Accenture?
I don't think that's necessarily an aspiration. I mean, Accenture is a massive company. Yeah, it is. But I mean, what we said as an interim goal is 100 employees. So we're at 50 right now. So Our goal, is to get to 100 employees. And then from there, we'll come up with our next goal. Yeah. So, we've looked at different ways of getting there between using different partners, being in other industries, being in different parts of the country. And so that's kind of what we're focused on right now. As soon as we get that, then we'll come up with another big goal, and maybe enough of those get us to Accenture.
I thought it was funny how Brian brought up the issue of their website when talking about, you had oil and gas and K-12, because we've actually had a really similar issue where we have a friend and she's doing a podcast over femtech. And so it may be like, new women's sports bra technology. And we're like, man, it'd be cool to start getting into other technology content. But how do you make the jump? We go from oil and gas content, and then you go on our website and we got femtech podcast is talking about women's sports bras. And so I could see that you guys had a lot of discussions around the website.
Yeah.
Like, how do we actually position ourselves in messaging?
Right. Yeah. Like I said, luckily we've kind of worked through it by getting more and more business, but certainly a couple years ago, those were our two biggest pillars. So it was an interesting thing. I don't think anyone would ever tie K through 12 and oil and gas.
Kindergartners and oil wells. Yeah. It's a pretty stark contrast. Well,